All right, folks, we've got 4 plays today. One overnight kicker. April PPI ripped to 6% year over year and 1.4% for the month. If you don't know what that means, I'll tell you, don't worry. It's the hottest wholesale inflation print since 2022 and a kill shot to the May rate cut narrative. Zillow's federal antitrust suit against Compass and MRED is in day 2, with the industry finally choosing sides. Mortgage rates are climbing past 6.5% as treasuries reload on the inflation shock, and the affordability ceiling just hit a record. First-time buyers now only 21% of the market, the lowest in NAR's history. I do have 2 overnight bombshells, okay? One, not really a bombshell. Senate confirmed Kevin Warsh as the next Fed chair in a 54-55 overnight vote. And the closest Fed chair vote, it's the closest Fed chair vote in modern history. And Jerome Powell is going to exit out Friday. But 2, this is what I did think was a bombshell. Bright MLS, the largest MLS in the country, chose a side, and that's Compass's. They partnered with Compass on a nationwide listings feed. So now this is the 4th MLS to side with Compass in just 3 weeks, while Zillow dragged their ass to federal court. So the fight's not slowing down. It appears as though it's spreading. People are choosing sides. This is My Real Estate Show. Welcome to the show. My name's Sandi Lyn. I'm CEO of a nationally expanding real estate brokerage. I scaled a nationally expanding brokerage to 7 states in 7 months. We just opened state 8 is great. And I'm doing this because I'm sick of seeing the status quo, the same tired virtual brokerage model over and over and over, and agents feeling alone on an island and out of touch. I am joined by my producer, Brian. Brian, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. We'll see what stories I have for you later here and see what you think of them.
All right, cool. I'm looking forward to it. So the first thing I'm going to start with is just an update for you. Hey, what would it be for Connecticut? Like, you Connecticutians, like, what do we call them? Brian will look it up.
I assume something like that. Yeah, I'll check.
Like Connecticutians. Connecticut is about to pass a private listing bill. State legislation aimed straight at, so it's aimed at this Compass style 3-phase marketing. Washington and Wisconsin already have passed similar laws. So I'm going to look at, I don't know if this article is behind a paywall or not, but I'm just going to check it out real quick and see if there's anything worth knowing. So they are on the verge of passing this bill, and it's going to have rules, which has been like, the rules surrounding the public marketing of listings. It's a hot and divisive topic in the real estate industry. And then finally, the state lawmakers, they are stepping in. So if you're an agent in Connecticut, pay attention because it's going to involve your listings. Let's talk
also,
about.
There's no way this is correct, but I'm going to show you. Take a look.
Okay. The Constitution State Nutmeggers. What?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so they call themselves Nutmeggers, the most popular, widely recognized, and unofficial nickname for the residents. Like, if you are a nutmegger, I want to hear from you. And you know what else this reminds me of is Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Instead of Nutmegger.
Okay, sorry, go back to regular programming.
Wait. Connecticuter?
Connecticuter?
But like, see, if it were 2 T's, I'd say cutter, but like Connecticuter? Like, are you cuter than another Connecticut? Often cited in dictionaries and official style guides, though used less in daily conversation. So you're telling me you all in Connecticut, you just talk to each other and call each other nutmeggers? Other variations, less common or historical terms, include Connecticution. So it's like execution.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Connecticut?
Connecticut is the best one, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Agreed.
If somebody calls me a nutmegger, they're getting punched in the face. Them are fighting words. So the term nutmegger relates to Connecticut's history as the nutmeg state. Still, don't fucking call me that. Iowa's a pig state. Like, please don't start in with the Miss Piggy shit. Like, don't do that to me.
Them hoggers.
Hey, hogger. Hey, fellow hogger, Brian.
Yeah.
The fuck? That's so weird. Okay. Well, thank you for educating us on this riveting topic. My goodness. So let's talk about true crime and real estate. One of my favorite topics. I gotta get my life together here with my camera. Okay. I just have to be able to see myself, you guys. It's a thing that I very much care about. So FBI bust for fraud. Wednesday, that's yesterday, the FBI arrested former NYC Judge Edward Harrell King and developer. Okay, Brian, why the hell would this not give me pronunciations for? Yechiel Sam Sprei. I don't know. Yechiel, and then it goes Sam. So like Sam, Sprei, Sprei, Sprei. I don't know. But why would the pronunciation guide give me oh, this is how you say Ryan Serhant, and not put that in there? That is.
Here's how to pronounce Glenda Baker. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Here's how to pronounce MRED, which I'm like, okay, thank you. Just in case I didn't know MRED, MRED. I'm glad I'm not saying MRED the whole time, but yeah, please. I'm going to have to update. Me and Claude are going to have a little chat after this. So the FBI arrested former New York City Judge Edward Harrell King and developer Sam, whatever the hell, on wire fraud conspiracy. Feds allege they duped 2 investors out of $6.5 million on a bogus property bid and only returned a fraction. King resigned from the bench last year under judicial misconduct investigation. Allegations only at this point. By the way, did I read this part at the beginning? Before we get into it, these are my opinions, not my real estate shows, not my real estate companies, not any entity connected to it either, just mine and producer Brian's. So here's something that I wanted in we do have a podcast, by the way, called True Crime and Real Estate. So we love covering true crime and real estate. If you have a tip for us, if you have a story for us, anything you want us to look into, let us know. But true crime and real estate is available everywhere you get your podcasts, and it also is on YouTube. Brian, let's talk about, by the way, next week's show, because you're going to play a pivotal part in our true crime and real estate show.
Yeah, we're revisiting the Alex Murdaugh trial. We talked about this a few months ago. The big, divide is I was not familiar with him, anything in the area. It's East Coast, like Carolinas, kind of large family in the area, and he went to trial for murder. I watched the trial, and knowing, what was presented there is basically what the only things the jury should know. And I said, I think there's reasonable doubt. And talking to almost anyone else about it, none of them watched the trial. They had all seen documentaries or, news stories talking about this criminal family embezzling and stealing money. He murdered his family because of this. I'm like, none of that was in the trial. those are all opinions. Those are all things that people that don't like him say about him. That's like every documentary is biased by the people that make it and the people that are in it. You're not getting facts. You're getting people who are not held to any sort of legal standard of truth. The trial is what should matter. And I got a completely different view. So we talked about that on our show 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was sometime in like February or maybe early March or so. And was it yesterday? Like literally yesterday morning, the conviction was overturned in his trial. He's going to get a completely separate new trial for the murders. He's still probably going to be in jail for a long time because of the financial crimes that he, confessed to. And that's also one of the interesting things where he has been fully transparent, confessional, whatever you want to say about it, about the financial crimes. He's like, yep, I stole all this money or whatever, the trial was. But he adamantly refuses to admit that he killed his family. So those things are also stacking, I'm gonna say in his favor, but leaning towards why wouldn't he just, he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life because of this. Why not just admit to it? It's like, no, he refuses to say that he killed them. So the trial is going to go forward and we'll see what happens there.
And if you guys are like, Alex Murdaugh is guilty as sin, I need you to tune in to True Crime and Real Estate next week, because Brian puts forth a really riveting case just based on the evidence. He's like, I'm not saying he didn't do it, but there is plenty of reasonable doubt in this evidence. So I would love it. Tune in, give us your commentary, anything. Like, try and beat Brian on his worst day. This will be so interesting to watch happen. Brennan Cook, our West Virginia broker and our director of teams, he went up against Brian and now he wants a rematch because he had no idea what he was up against. So catch our previous episode anytime if you want to catch yourself up, but it's going to be really fun to just rehash this because it was jaw-dropping that his conviction was overturned, and it gave us an excuse to watch this case again and rehash it. I'm very excited for it. Complete subject change. I didn't realize that Ryan Serhant is in collaboration with somebody called Sydney Joe. I don't know who that is, but he collaborates with her. There's a viral TikTok series called The Group Chat, and it's underscoring a major shift in real estate marketing where reaching new audiences requires moving beyond traditional industry bubbles. Well, so this is exactly what I created this show for, is that
sounds familiar.
I know. And so I'm reading this and I'm like horrified. I'm like, well, shit, they have way more reach than we have. Like, damn it. So listen to this because it's totally exactly what I thought my vision was for the show. I'm like, there's nothing out there like it, but I guess apparently there is. The power of cross-platform content. The first installment of the series, so it's a series, amassed 36.9 million views, and Serhant featured as the realtor in season 5, tapping into a younger, largely female demographic that differs from traditional real estate audiences. They call it edutaining. So Serhant noted that individual audience only goes so far, highlighting the need to bridge real estate with entertainment, edutaining, to increase audience size. Yeah, hello, McFly. And expanding beyond the bubble, the collaboration demonstrates that agents who rely solely on local traditional networking do limit their potential. I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. The future, as highlighted in 2026, involves becoming an omnipresent agent. Brian, what does omnipresent mean? Because I don't want to act like I know what that means if I don't know what it means.
Always present.
Okay. Well, now I feel just stupid. Now I just feel plain stupid. That's a very self-explaining word. Hello, Jen. Jen tuning in. Jinx.
Oh, Jen. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, said it's Jen.
You're right.
Jen. Do I say Jean or Jen? Now you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your name. Because apparently I'll still screw it up. But I feel like if it's Jin, it's Jean. Because it looks almost like in Japanese. Jin, well, which one? Jin or Jin? He goes, Jin works for me. He or she, I guess. I don't even know. Okay, back to, let me talk about real quick. I don't like numbers as far as the wholesale inflation rips to 6% year over year, largest monthly jump since 2022. That's basically the headline that I want you to retain in this. The Bureau of Labor Statistics dropped April PPI Wednesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Anyway, the point is that this is the largest monthly jump since 2022, wholesale inflation. So just know that this is up. Stop selling buyers the dream of the rate cut. It's not coming on the timeline that, like, if we could predict rates, we'd all be billionaires. We can't predict rates, but we're kind of seeing that these rates are not going down. So I think that you should just not be selling that. But the other thing is sell them that if and when the rates do drop, the supply is going to go down and the demand is going to go up. So I hate the whole date the rate, marry the house term, but it does kind of make sense right now. So, all right, let's talk really quick about Zillow versus Compass and MRED, the day two. So industry picking sides. Zillow filed federal antitrust litigation in the Northern District of Illinois against MRED and Compass International Holdings, alleging the two allegedly conspired to force private listings into the country's largest portal. But like, what was Zillow doing? What is Zillow doing by combining with Realtor.com and doing their previews, like their preview listings, right? So I just find that very interesting. The Compass spokesperson responded publicly, calling Zillow's posture a campaign that punishes agents who are simply following their clients' lawful instructions, and reasserting that homeowners should have the right to decide how to market their homes. I am inclined to lean on that side of it as well. I think that everybody kind of gets involved in their own idea. They fall in love with their own ideas. And so they're like, if I'm not doing this, then you shouldn't be able to do it. But I'm not seeing in this lawsuit what law is actually being broken. So they're acting like it's an antitrust thing, okay? But with the whole antitrust accusation, I'm not understanding. Like, still, please, somebody tell me, like, how is this antitrust? Because Zillow, you can't go and sue MRED about antitrust and then go and like link up with Realtor.com for your own private listing network. It's just weird. It's weird. So I am inclined to agree with Josh, my co-host here. I'm inclined to agree with Josh that this is probably a publicity stunt. These lawsuits, they want to be in the news. They want people talking about them. So do you have any comments on this, Brian?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier today where, you either one, like the lawyers on either side are friends and they're just, taking money from both companies suing each other because neither of them are going to, necessarily win. But also, like, if the cost to sue another company and your lawyers to like go through the motion and say just like completely drop the case in 2 or 3 months, what you're getting out of this is a whole lot of publicity for whatever it costs to pay lawyers for 2 or 3 months. And then you've got like a marketing department where it's like, well, hey, how much would it cost for us to advertise on all these different places to get our name out there to all these different places? And you compare those two costs where a marketing campaign would cost X million and a lawsuit you have no intention of following through on costs this. Which one's cheaper? And if they both get you the same amount of news in the press, you go with the cheaper one. If it's the lawsuit to sue people, it costs less than a marketing campaign. It's just a cheaper marketing campaign.
Yeah. I think Holly and I were laughing like, oh, like, I wonder if we can tell my state MLS to sue us so we can get in the news and then just drop it a couple weeks later, please. But it's almost like that's what's happening these days. So find this super interesting. Compass just got another MLS, and that is Bright MLS, which is currently the largest in the country. So they announced that yesterday afternoon that it's Bright announced that it's partnering with Compass on a nationwide listings feed. So they encompass New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia. So that's where these subscriptions are aimed at. And then elsewhere, it says. But that's 4 MLSs that Compass has partnered with in 3 weeks. MRED, RealTrax, ARMLS affiliated platforms, and now Bright. And they're obviously siding with Compass, while Zillow has Compass and MRED in court. So they did this knowing this lawsuit dropped. I mean, I'm sure if Zillow's suing MRED, they're going to, Bright and these other MLSs are not far behind. But Bright CEO Brian Donnellan framed it as expanded pre-marketing options for the summer. Zillow is yet to comment on the Bright deal. I don't. So what you got for me, Brian?
All right, well, we'll go with the non-real estate related one first. I haven't seen these because I'm not too deep in the Apple infrastructure yet, so I don't know if these are actually coming out, but I thought that was interesting that they put that on there. I know I'm a sucker for like that battery I've got has the like charge on the display, so if you put a screen on something small, I'm going to be intrigued. But
if this is legit, I'm going to be so excited. Because number one, I love me some AirPods, right?
yeah,
But also it is funny that it's like the recycle of the iPod Nano. But seriously, if I could just carry my AirPods around and not my phone or something, you know what I mean? It's going to be interesting. Is it paired with my phone? Do I still have to carry my phone? It'll be interesting to see what it does actually end up looking like. All righty.
I've got 2 reels from that Glenda Baker, I believe.
Okay.
The first one, I'll kind of come up front with it. I disagree with her opinion on this, but I wanted you to listen to it and see how you feel, and then I'll, I guess, explain. But I think it's pretty clear that if I disagree, it's the opposite of what she's saying. But we'll go with that for now.
Okay.
I look at people like that are my age. Well, the boomers are the worst because they've got $47 trillion in equity that they're sitting on. I want those people to go rent at some luxury 55 and older place and get out of your house so we can have that transference of the real estate industry. I mean, do you understand there is $47 trillion in equity that is being sat on and not moving? It is literally just sitting there.
Okay. So Brian, why do you disagree?
So, I mean, I don't disagree with her saying the amount. I fully trust that that's how much is sitting there. But no, if I own my house, I deserve to live there. Like, you don't get to say like, oh, you're old, you're sitting on a house that's worth more than you need. Like, you need to move out and go move into a place where you rent. It's like, no, I like, if her position was, if you have 3 houses, sell those houses, don't just hang on to them. But like to tell somebody you're old, get out of your house, go live in a community. No, fuck you. Like I worked my whole life to get this house and not pay taxes, not pay rent. Just because somebody else wants to live there, you don't get to tell me to move out. Like, I don't know.
I get her point. I do think the boomers are being selfish. A lot of them do have multiple houses. A lot of them are hanging on to the real estate, and millennials were really squeezed hard. They have the attitude, like move your ass out at age 18, like don't live in your mom's basement. Like we were raised on that, we got the hell out of our house. We don't live in mom's basement or anything like that, but we were actually not set up the same way that generation was set up. And so I get what she's saying. I do understand it shouldn't be like, oh, boomers should be forced out of their houses or anything. And like, who is she to say that? But really, I do believe they're being selfish. They're sitting on, you've already made all the equity that you're going to make out of your house. I mean, not all of it, but they got to live that 2020, 2021 bubble, right? And they got all that, they bought their house for like 30 grand when they first bought it, 30 to 150 grand. And now they're selling it for millions. And so, yeah, they are just, what she's trying to say is we need some movement in the market. We need more supply. And the younger generations need housing, and that generation can beat out with cash these young new families just trying to get a starter home. They can take the equity out of their house. They can stay in their house, take the equity out of it, and then buy a house for cash out from under these millennials and Gen Z getting started in their lives as a brand new family. And that's what's driving the housing market up in price so much, the competitiveness. So I think don't allow China to buy up our fucking land and our houses and stuff. And then also don't, I don't know how to properly, I'm not all for government, intervention, right? So I'm a capitalist. I don't know what the right answer is. However, I get what she's saying.
I sort of do. If her position was, hey, you've had this house for like your family, and now it's, a 6-bedroom house for you and your wife that are retired, move somewhere more appropriate, move into a smaller house, pocket the profit from what you bought it for, or, sell a different house if you have more than one. But to be like, get out of your house, get into a retirement community, I think is the wrong take on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have some contempt for the boomer generation. So,
but I mean, that's going to be you one day living in your house. People are going to be telling you to get out because they want it.
But it's different than what happened before. And frankly, the boomers haven't gotten out like the previous generation did. The previous generation gracefully bowed out, would either like will down their homes or do whatever they needed to do. And it's like, I feel like the boomers, they just got the best of everything.
I'd
don't
also
know.
agree if her, take was like, they're not taking a price for their house, like they're asking an unreasonable amount and not taking reasonable offers. If they're like, you bought this house for 150 grand, you're asking 2.5 million, nobody's going to buy it at that price. You need to sell it for reasonable amounts, just because, like, take the profit.
But the thing
don't
is
look
a
at the
lot of
bottom
houses
dollar,
that they bought for 150 grand are collecting 2 million or whatever from it. And so it's just kind of crazy. Now, the whole $47 trillion in equity, I don't really care how much equity, but I just want them to loosen up the supply a little bit, because there's a lot of demand, because they had a lot of babies and those babies need to live somewhere with their own families now before we become a Handmaid's Tale society.
And my second clip is nicer to Glenda because I don't want to be like fully negative.
Yeah, let's see this one.
You always want the seller to pay the closing costs, because that is actual real dollars that stay in your pocket. If you took $11,000 off of the price, it is just the percentage that you're putting down.
And you're also lowering the value.
Yeah, you're lowering the value, and you're only lowering your payment $3. Right. The $11,000 is real money that you get to keep.
Okay, so first of all, Glenda, I say this with love, get a fucking pop filter on your mic.
I think it's the other person's podcast, but point still stands.
Was it the other person's podcast?
I think so.
If you can, I would say if you can get the other seller or get the seller to pay closing costs, then do it. But again, sometimes we're in a multiple offer situation. So if you're trying to get the seller to pay your closing costs and we're in a multiple offer situation and they're going to net more because that guy's not asking for closing costs, is it really worth losing the house over? Well, here's my tip for the agents. Write your commission as seller paid closing costs and not as commission. Your buyer has to settle your buyer broker agreement with you anyway. But there's something that triggers in their head that looks different on paper if it's seller paid concessions to the buyer instead of real buyer agent commission. There's something that happens in that seller's head where they're like, oh my gosh, and I didn't even have to pay the buyer's agent commission. Well, my buyer paid it with the closing costs they got from the seller. So it all shook out the same for my buyer, but it just makes it does something. It triggers in their head where they think it's a win. And so that's how I started writing it. The only instance that you can't do that is if you are already writing like the max amount of closing costs because the buyer needs that in order to close. So if you're writing all these closing costs and lenders have a certain percentage, depending on the kind of loan, lenders will have they max it out at a certain percentage of closing costs that the seller's allowed to give to the buyer. So if that's the case, then you need to, write it as commission. But I need to give you one more tip. If you write your commission as seller paid closing costs to the buyer, you don't owe the seller an explanation or anything, but you owe the lender an explanation. So when I first started doing this, the lender would think, oh my God, all right, here's 11 grand in closing costs, like that we have to play with. So I guess let's do a rate buy down. Let's do all these fun things. And then they would find, and I would try to tell them, but for some reason signals would get crossed. So make sure with the lender, you're letting them know, hey, this $11,246 matches my buyer agent agreement exactly, or whatever the amount is, right? And it's usually a percentage of the home value or the loan or whatever, right? So if you do creatively write your commission in as seller paid closing costs instead of buyer agent commission, make sure to communicate that with the lender and the title company and everything that's settling your deal. All right, we good?
That's all I had. Yep.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. I think this was a great episode. I'm gonna see, just as a closing it out here, we did a few stories. Don't forget, I guess if you want to sound smart, talking about the news with your friends, wholesale inflation lit the rate cut narrative on fire. Zillow has Compass and an MRED MLS in federal court, while Bright MLS, which is the biggest in the country, just signed with Compass overnight. Mortgage rates are reloading higher, not lower. First-time buyers are functionally extinct at 21% of the market. Only 21% of the market is a first-time home buyer. And the Senate just handed Kevin Warsh the Fed in the closest vote since the central bank was created. Brokerage talking heads are going to sell you a fairy tale every time the wind shifts. And I want to give you this last piece of advice. If you are in real estate, and especially if you are brand new in real estate, everyone you talk to from now on is going to have an agenda. They're going to want something from you. So some people are very forthcoming with their agenda, and other people have this hidden agenda. I think that humans, if you trust your gut, you'll do very well in this industry. But I'm always forthright with my agenda. My agenda for this podcast, for this show, please give us a follow. Please share any clips or episodes with, fellow agents or even consumers that you think could get something out of them. So please follow us. Please leave a comment. Let us know if you want us to cover anything on this podcast or true crime in real estate. We actually read the comments and we love the participation. That's all for now. We'll see you tomorrow.